And Tom, while you're working on that, I just want to do a little backup. Taylor Woodrum's running for House District 71, I believe. The current incumbent is Carol Bush. Now, Carol came into office, I believe, 4 years ago when she beat the incumbent that had the office before.
All right, I've got Taylor. Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Taylor, thanks for hanging in there while I found the magic button.
You're the man.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Taylor Woodrum, running for House District 71. Taylor, it's nice to finally meet you across the Zoom.
It's nice to meet you guys, too. It's actually House District 70 here in Midtown Tulsa.
70.
Oh,
that's my bad.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, you're good.
I read what they write.
I live in 71.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, sorry about that. That's I should have cross-checked that. Taylor Woodrum, House District 70. And so there you go. And I know that you're one of the up-and-coming young rising stars in the conservative movement. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got where you're going now.
Well, I kind of got into politics around 2008 when I watched Obama win, and my dad get really mad about it. It kind of got me pumped up and interested in politics from there. And in 2016, I was a pro-Trump guy all the way. And I noticed a lot of people didn't like that. And it just kind of was weird to me how people would attack me for that. When I graduated high school, I went to OU for a semester. And I actually was physically assaulted on OU's campus for wearing a USA 45 hat. A kid took it off my head and threw it into the street. I went to the university about it, and they didn't want to do anything. So I had to take it to the police department, and they followed through with it and went from there. And I decided that OU wasn't my thing, but I wanted to do something to where I could protect and restore liberty in the state. And I thought, what a better way than to run for office?
Right.
So when I went to TU and I transferred, I started a club, which was Young Americans for Liberty, and I networked through there and learned a lot about the system and how government works. And I changed my major actually to political science after that. So I'm finishing that now, and it's been great. It's been awesome.
You kind of got bit by the political bug. I know.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I had a beef with the mayor, Dewey Bartlett Jr. over the Vision 2025 thing, and I got to say, running that was a campaign and arguing with the mayor and GT. It was a real learning experience, and I really had a great appreciation for our founding fathers. We've got a great system where a guy like me can step up and argue with the power brokers, and so it's a great opportunity for young people like you to step up and serve your country in this fashion.
Yeah, it's not something a lot of people, they always question. You're 21, you're 21. Are you sure you want to do this? Is something you want to do? And I look at them and go, yes. I actually turned 21 on Wednesday, and instead of partying and doing things that normal 21-year-old would do, I was out there knocking doors, trying to spread the word of liberty and trying to promote my campaign because I want to make change for Joe Cummings.
I am going to bring Oldham on. We've got him back.
That's great, and I'm going to take the producer out here.
I prepared the waiting room for you.
Welcome
Taylor, back, David Oldham. Let me just introduce David Oldham, back from wherever the hands of doom out there on the East Coast. He apparently has slayed the dragon out there, and he's back with us. David Oldham from constitutionalgrounds.com. And also, David, we've got Taylor Woodrum with us also.
I see that.
Thank you. Very good.
Where
were we, David Van?
Yeah, Taylor, the name Woodrum, to many of us who've lived here in Tulsa for decades, I remember Pat Woodrum that ran the library very well for decades.
Yeah, that's my grandma.
Grandma.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Now, didn't she run for office as well?
She ran for state senate back in, I believe, the 80s.
It was in 96, and I met her on
96, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a trick question, clearly. I mean,
before I was born, before I was even a thought.
It's a perjury trap, Taylor. That's what it is.
Don't doubt me, Taylor. Don't doubt me.
Taylor, I want to know, what is your, when you think about politics, what is your real burning fire? For me, I always trigger when I hear the public schools start talking about more funding, and I go insane. And I know the Constitution is where the radical David Oldham comes unglued. But what about you? What's your main trigger? I know there's not one, but what's your main fire?
Well, there is one main trigger, and that's when conservatives vote for tax increases and override our governor from increase our budget and things like that.
Right.
It's unnecessary, and I think it's uncalled for.
I am in love.
You know,
in a very heterosexual way.
Here we go. There's a gentleman by the name of Willie Montague out in Florida, and he's trying to unseat Val Demings, who was on the team against Trump during the impeachment hearings. And that during the impeachment hearings was when I realized that every House race matters. Every single House race matters. It doesn't matter what state you're in. If the person's saying the right thing and doing the right thing, you got to support them even across state lines. So I appreciate you stepping up. So you're a fiscal conservative, and then
Yes,
and what about how do you feel about funding in the schools? I mean, what's your attitude about schools and teachers and funding and all that?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think that the numbers don't lie. Our education system it's not the best in the country, not the best in the world. I think there's ways to go about that and ways to fix it. I was lucky enough to attend Castle Hall, and a lot of my friends went to charter schools, and I think that we need to make sure that every student has like the same opportunities that I had to go to these schools, because today's like well-educated children are tomorrow's future, and that's me running. I am the future there. So I mean, it shows.
Well, you're young. I'm not going to put you on the spot, and as Tom mentioned, I'm the constitutionalist, but I'm not going to put you on the spot. But just for food for thought, what might you think about ending public school funding from a tax perspective? In other words, thinking completely outside the box, getting back to actually a constitutional form of governance, where taking property from other people to pay for someone else's stuff is actually unconstitutional. And having to find another funding mechanism for it, maybe getting the government out of it altogether. As a youngster, and since you've been to school that was completely private, you might be the one that would end up carrying that.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a big task to take over, and it's something I'd like to work on, getting towards a system like that. Obviously, it's not going to happen in 2 years or even 4, but down the road, I think we can make ways and a path to get there. Reach that point.
Taylor, I'm currently reading a book called The History of Education in the United States, and it goes back and covers circa 1645 forward, et cetera, all the different all the colonies, and eventually when they turn into statehood. And so what I'm finding out, the history of our public schools is one of individual laboratories. Each state and even different groups within states learning better ways to educate the children in their state. And one of the problems I see today is an effort towards nationalizing, not just schools, but in everything, but especially the school system. It goes against the origin of our state-run school system when we begin to nationalize. What's your comments on nationalizing schools?
It's not a good thing. Common Core, if that's what you're referring to, it's a horrible thing. I think students learn in different ways, and they all learn differently. And I think that Common Core just kind of throws that out the window.
So who are you running against in District 70, Taylor Woodrum?
And why?
Carol Bush.
Why, right?
Carol Bush.
Yeah. And what is it about Carol Bush?
I've actually got a picture here for you.
All right.
This is so back in 2018, when I came back to Tulsa, I started to look into my local politics more and more, and I looked at Carol Bush, and I started to realize I don't align with her at all, and nobody in my household did, and I didn't think any Republicans really would either. And I actually have this picture here, which is of her endorsing Kendra Horn at her campaign event in Oklahoma City back in 2018. And to me, that's just unacceptable to endorse a Democrat in District 5 and actually take it over, help them take it over. It's just completely unacceptable to me.
Well, it's deceitful, at least. It's two-faced. It's duplicitous. It's fraudulent. I got another word. But I'm going to use it.
So, what would you like to see done differently than what she has done? In other words, you followed her over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I haven't like in depth. I've looked at some bills she's voted on. First off, I would vote on every bill. She misses a lot of bills, and I think every abortion bill that has come in front of her, she has skipped. I don't know if that's a
Mm.
bathroom break or if that's a I
Mhm.
just don't want to be there. But to me, that's unacceptable.
That's a
So,
pretty long.
But that's just coincidental. That's
yeah,
just
it must be.
irony.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that kind of alludes to your position on abortion. And so, I think it's the Republican platform that gives them 20 or 22 weeks to do the abortion before there's brain activity or heart activity. You agree with that in the national platform, or are you an abolitionist?
I'm not an abolitionist. I'd like to eventually get to a point to where that abortions aren't needed.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing to get to. Obviously, that's an ideal world, and it's going to be
Mhm.
long before you can get there. But I think the heartbeat bill is a great bill, and that's where we should start and keep it there for a while.
Mhm.
Hey, if you're just joining us, it's Tommy McKay here with 3D Politics Live every Monday night at 7 p.m. right here on 3D Politics on the Facebook page. I got David Oldham, Constitutional Grounds, way out there on the East Coast, and David Van from SoonerPolitics.org. And of tonight's special guest, we're getting a chance to interview Taylor Woodrum from a candidate from House District 70. So Taylor, we appreciate you coming along. Let's got a few more minutes here with you. Is there anything you want to add? Oh, Van's got something. What do you got,
Yeah,
Van?
Taylor. So, have you and I ever met in person?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. I needed to clear that up first
You can do a
because
magic trick.
of an analogy I want to make. You're 21 years old. I just turned 59. Well, technically, I turned 4 because I got my 4-year-old granddaughter to change with me. She's 59. I'm 4, which explains my behavior. But anyway, getting back to my point, Carol Bush made a law, the first bill with her name that ever got passed into law, said that if a young Taylor Woodrum at 5 years old had ever been sexually molested, Taylor now has until he's 45 to actually press charges, file a complaint. And if the person he files a complaint on happens to be an adult, maybe 30 years older than him, now all of a sudden that guy's 75, probably doesn't have the best memory, probably lost all of his alibis to prove that it isn't true. And it became basically the Gloria Allred bill is what I called it. And it just sets up for lawyers to shake down wealthy, old, retired, senile people. So that to me told me right away what I needed to know about
Yeah.
what Carol Bush would be.
And so Carol Bush was promoting or supporting that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
She
well,
wrote
she's the
She
author
authored
along with
Lost
with Kevin McDougal.
Okay.
Yes, and
Right. So what it
Yeah.
is like it's a bill that gives you an opportunity if you ever get ticked off at your parent for over the course of 45 years, you go and clean something up.
yeah, or you find out that the young adult that took care of you in second grade Sunday school class now all of a sudden is worth 40, 50 million, and he's senile. You can shake him down, and you know what his attorney's going to say? Settle out of court,
Oh yeah.
make it go away.
All right, enough of this tomfoolery. Taylor Woodrum, what else is on your mind as you run? If you just wanted to tell the youth of today, those youngsters that are younger than you, what would you tell them about? What would you tell them about the world and what you're doing?
I'll tell them that I'm trying to make an Oklahoma that they want to stay in. I mean, that was something a lot of my buddies growing up, they're like, man, I want to get out of the state. And I just didn't understand that. I love Tulsa and I love Oklahoma. I want people to get involved in the political process, younger people like me, to help build a better Oklahoma for everybody, a more conservative, a more free state for everyone. And we need the youth vote to do that.
Oh, definitely. Where it's all handing over now, we've got to make sure that we go ahead.
And the House, I believe, the House majority or minority leader is Emily Virgin. I think she's 24. And if the Democrats come in and they steal the youth vote and they get the youth vote in the state, maybe 20, 30 years down the road, we're no longer red. We're no longer Republican. And I'd really hate to see that.
Right. And what do you now? Politics is something you're going to endeavor. And what's your occupational endeavors?
I've actually worked at a local retail store here, electronics store, it's a leadership position where I'm in charge of managing inventory and making sure. Yeah, I've been there for about a year.
And then and you'll finish. When do you finish school?
Should be around the end of 2021.
Nice. That'll be great.
Yeah.
That'll be great. What's
Yeah.
your first step after school? You've got a job lined up, or are you going to be
No, I'm not even sure. When we get there, we'll figure it out.
political
Okay.
science and electronics? Yeah, Van, what do you got?
But what you're telling me is you actually work a real job. You're not a trust
Yeah, I work
fund
full
brat.
time. I work full time, 40 hours a week. I
Good
get
for
up
you.
at 6 a.m. I get out of there about 2:30 or 3. It just depends.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, Bachelor number one, have you got a love life and you're planning on any kids in the future?
Yeah, no, I definitely do want kids. I actually live with my girlfriend. We've got a house, so.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, that's great. So you got a little support system there. Older,
Yeah,
what do you got
yeah.
for us?
So what are you finding at the doors? What are people, as you're going around knocking, what are people telling you that their concerns are?
Well, I'll give you the last couple's door that I actually visited. They told me that their last encounter, which was a day before I got there, was with Miss Bush. She knocked on their door and it ended up with them telling her to get the hell off their porch. Because they asked her about Kendra Horn, they asked her about her votes, and she just kind of tried to weasel out of it like a typical politician would. And they just didn't like that.
It wasn't my house, I swear.
No, yeah.
Oh, well, David, you got anything else to press young Taylor Woodrum with? Taylor, you got anything else
No,
you want to say
thank you for
before
coming.
we send you out of
Yeah.
here?
I appreciate the invite. Thanks for letting me come on. Hopefully, after June 30th, when I win, we'll be able to have more conversations like this.
Very good. Taylor, we appreciate your efforts and good luck in the future. And we hope to have you on again when you are successful in your endeavors.
Awesome. Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Taylor, thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Well, great. Good to see young people getting involved.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Yeah.
Hey, for any kids watching, we need young blood to step up to the plate.
At 20, I mean, you can just imagine how I was at 20. I don't know.
Yeah, I can, Tom.
I don't think couldn't have been running from anything but the law at that point at 20. But it's nice to see the youngster in there doing it. That's great. And actually, I became familiar with him over Facebook. Don't know him from anything, just like some of his posts, and then became friends, and then shared support and et cetera from there. Here we are, 7:26 on Monday night, live with the two Davids and Tommy McKay on 3D Politics Live. David Van, SoonerPolitics.org, and David Oldham on ConstitutionalGrounds.com. And